What's up, everybody? This is Tanner Courtney, and welcome to another edition of the Coach Courtney Podcast. Today, I am shooting live from my truck because I have spent the entire day at historic Camp Lockett in Campo, California, home of the 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers. It was a very special day because I was able to visit a handful of the sites and current nonprofits and museums that occupy the space, hear a little bit more about who they are, what they do, what the current need is, and talk a little bit about the Camp Lockett Master Plan. If you don't know what the Camp Lockett Master Plan is, go ahead and pull up Google on your computer and search Camp Lockett Master Plan, San Diego County. It is a county-approved document that outlines the vision that the county has for historic Camp Lockett that has not been fulfilled. We get to hear a little bit about each of the community members share their thoughts on the current status of things and where we're going to continue to move ready and forward. You guys know who I am, Tanner Courtney with Ready and Forward Camp Lockett. I'm a veteran, and I am out here today exploring all the beautiful places that we have in the Campo and surrounding areas. And right now I'm at the Stone Store Museum with, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Wade Rowley. I'm the chairman of the board of the Mountain Empire Historical Society and the director of the Gaskill Brothers Stone Store Museum.
And you're also a veteran, is that right?
Yeah, I have 25 years in the Army at Army Corps of Engineers.
Very amazing. Thank you for your service. And so, like I said, we're at the Stone Store right now. Can you tell me just a little bit about the Stone Store? What is that?
Yeah, this is the Gaskill Brothers Stone Store. This building was the new store. It was built and opened in 1885 after a infamous or famous gunfight in the mid-1870s where a skirmish between the locals here and the banditos from the southern side of the border ended up in a gunfight and eventually the old store being burned down. So this store was built to take its place with 4-foot thick walls made with local adobe and rock, and is still standing today.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's so beautiful. I can't wait to take a look at it after my friend gets here. So, like I said, I shared a little bit about my nonprofit, and our vision and mission is to be able to come out and start to utilize some of the spaces and buildings to provide more community resources, youth opportunities, veteran resources. So, given anything that you know from your time out here where you're at, what is the current need and landscape out here for the community at large?
Well, community at large, we have multiple museums. We've got the San Diego Railroad Museum. We've got the Camp Lockett Equestrian Facility, otherwise known as CLEAF. And on that, there is also the Camp Lockett Military Museum, which is curated as a private entity. However, he displays a lot of the equipment that was used by the Buffalo Soldiers that were stationed at Camp Lockett. We also have the Motor Transport Museum, which is the old Feldspar mill, stamp mill that operated up until the early 50s in the area. And then we've got this nonprofit as the Mountain Empire Historical Society, and we are all suffering from the same things, is volunteers, number one, to help keep these things open and do fundraisers and so forth, but also funding.
Yeah. So, and that has been a common thread with all my conversations.
Of course.
So,
and we're all in communication with each other.
Right. Well, and then the biggest problem, though, too, is I believe, and that's why I'm trying to bring this event out here, is awareness. The fact that I believe, and there would have to be a poll that would need to be done, but I think like 99% of our county has no idea that this exists. Even veterans, they don't even know what the Buffalo Soldiers are, which is crazy. And I think if more families knew what was here, they would love to come make a day trip out here. So, all right. So you may or may not know, but for however long you've been out here, if you've seen any good intentions by any of the community out here to get the funding or develop the things, I don't know how much you know about the Camp Lockett Master Plan, but where do you think that the good intentions have fallen short?
Well, we're well aware of the Camp Lockett Master Plan. The difficulties have been is such a big lift to restore Camp Lockett, and get it divided up amongst the nonprofits that can actually do something with it has been a real challenge.
Yeah.
There are constant negotiations and constant dialogue, and it all boils down to the money to restore it. Camp Lockett itself falls within the county historical designation requirements as well as the state of California. But there was an early movement to try to turn it into a state park, but the state really couldn't do much with it, and we couldn't get a federal designation because part of Camp Lockett is owned by private entities, which wouldn't be part of the system. Mm-hmm. And so the county owned it for many years and then divided it up amongst some of the nonprofits in the area, but because their missions are not really in keeping with a giant facility like this, they've been able to take small bits and pieces and work on it, but we don't see an end in sight when we can have it all together because of the lack of funding and lack of volunteer effort.
Well, even, for example, and we don't have to tell, you can share as much as you'd like in this regard, but this is just what I know. I just got done walking what used to be the convalescent hospital and all those buildings by Shafee Park. So that is all owned currently by the Mountain Empire School District.
Correct.
And then I know that they had intentions to want to actually utilize those, but then they found out that because of code reasons and ADA and other reasons, they cannot. And that's why they're sitting empty right now and not being utilized.
That's correct. And because of their historical designation, they can't be modified for much more than they are. They can be maintained, restored, and within certain provisions, remodeled and so forth. But there has to be a certain amount of historical integrity that's kept in those buildings, and so they don't really fit with what the school district mission.
Exactly, and that's where my nonprofit, the whole point in my mission now is to try to not take anything from anybody, of course, but just to bring awareness and communication of if there are people that are willing and the money exists and want to go restore this for the community, and you can't. What do we do now, right? Like, what do we do on the county level? Because they gave that land to them. They didn't purchase the land.
Correct.
And there is a clause somewhere in one of those documents saying that if you cannot fulfill what is supposed to be done, that the county takes it back. But we're going to bring all that to awareness. We'll figure that out.
If it gets taken back, then who next is most capable of doing something with it? And that's a process that's ongoing.
Right. And I'm just letting you know because I just met you, but that is the whole point of my nonprofit is
I'm fully aware of all the history of. I've been on the board of directors for the Historical Society for 10 years. I've been president of the board of directors for the last year, but we've been involved all along within this process with what they call the CLIG, the Camp Lockett Interest Group.
Yeah. Now, is that still officially active?
No, it's not active at all. However, we all still talk together as nonprofits and compare notes and try to find ways and think of ways that we can continue on with the mission. As far as the Mountain Empire Historical Society goes, we don't own any of it. We don't have the capability of managing or doing much, but we are kind of the overseers and keepers of making sure that whatever is done meets the historic requirements, and we collect that history as the process goes.
Understood. So do you, and I say this to not discredit anything that you guys do, because I'm very aware that there's people like yourself and Ray I'm very close with Ray, that have been doing amazing work and trying to really move things forward and keep a tap on things. My understanding is, though, and like I said, you can disagree with me, I'm just interested your opinion, that I feel like there is a lack of organization and structure as far as the bigger picture, as far as all of the. Because why aren't all these buildings right now why are they being not utilized?
They're just sitting, right.
Right. So I think there's just there needs to be just a little bit of structure, and I'm not saying that there's not at all, because obviously the Camp Lockett Interest Group, that's what that was probably for. But all I want to see, and all the veterans in the county and everybody that I'm trying to build this coalition, is to utilize this and restore it, to honor the legacy of not only the Buffalo Soldiers, but Camp Lockett, and then provide resources for our community and get those buildings up and going in ways that can serve the community. And the people that have them now that cannot do that, need to figure something out there.
Well, and we have competing interests as the nonprofits between it was a Mountain Health to begin with, and it turned into San Ysidro Health. They have a mission to feed the community and provide medical services, so forth, and that's not really in keeping with the needs of a restoration of a major military facility.
Right.
And Camp Lockett equestrian facility, they are more fitted because this place did house a lot of horses and equestrian type things, and so their mission fits. Our mission fits as far as the collection and dissemination and assistance with the technical expertise for restoration, things like that.
Right.
We've got the history. We also have the availability of the old military. Yeah, at least I do, as from the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah.
From my military career, I know where the blueprints and designs and all that kind of stuff can still be found.
Absolutely.
And so we've got that. And the school district really have great intentions of using it for extension classes and things like that, but there's no way they can come in to state compliance with the buildings without violating the requirements for the historical preservation. And so we've kind of got a stalemate. It's not really anybody's fault or lack of desire or effort. It's just there's too much divergence between the nonprofits and the actual mission that's going to be needed to be taken a hold of in order to accomplish it.
Right. And I understand that. And I know it's not an easy issue. People have been trying to figure this out for years, but I guess since I'm just meeting you today, I'm letting you know that is the purpose of my nonprofit, to try to bring some resolve. And I have a bunch of support behind me. So hopefully I can work with people like you who are very knowledgeable about what's already been happening and what exists to move some things forward. Our nonprofit is named Ready and Forward because it's not just the 10th Cavalry Buffalo Soldiers motto, because they stood ready and forward to be able to go do all the things they did, even though they were not accepted as equals. There was a time of racism, right? But it's a mindset for our community to move forward. Like, let's move forward and serve our community. So, last question. If this does move forward at any point in the future, and it's done well, what does success look like for Campo and the community?
Well, we see this as having a huge benefit for our community, but in San Diego County as a whole, this could be a day's destination for people to come and spend the day and go through the history of the local, the Kumeyaay Native Americans that were here to begin with. They're a big part of the history of East County. Yeah. In fact, upstairs, we're going to be working on the development and the improvement of more Kumeyaay displays and so forth. We've got the pioneers that then came in and started settling the areas and started cattle ranching in the areas, a little bit of mining, but mostly cattle ranches. And then that operated for quite a few years. And then it moved into Camp Lockett, which housed the 11th Cavalry, the 12th Cavalry, and the 28th Cavalry, the 10th and the 28th being the Buffalo Soldiers. And then it morphed into, after they were deployed to World War II, the Mitchell Convalescent Hospital, and then in that time this was also Camp Lockett was to house the Italian internment camp for Italian soldiers during World War II, as well as some German soldiers. And then at the end of 1947, it all was shut down, and that was basically the end of Camp Lockett. So only operated from about 42 until 47.
Yeah.
Which was a huge facility and a huge impact on the area, and it just went poof.
Yeah.
And so what we're doing is try to preserve that history. Yeah. And here at the Mountain Empire Historical Society, our focus is on the Kumeyaay, the local pioneers and the settlers, as well as Camp Lockett and anything, at least from our view, up to about 1947, so that we can at least retain the history. Because there's a lot of history here, a lot of things happen.
And it doesn't deserve to be lost.
Well, this was the wagon road, the San Diego to Yuma wagon road, and there was an intersection here that went on into Mexico. There's still remnants, foundation remnants and stuff at the old port of entry down on the border. And this was the first stop on the way to Yuma, and the second stop was Mountain Spring, halfway over the side, headed down the hill into El Centro in the rock pile, and then Camp Sealy, and then on to Boltville, and then the dunes on into Yuma. And so that was a 4 or 5 day trip.
Can I actually, since you know so much, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. do you know much about the significance of this area with the railroad?
Well, the railroad came in at the turn of the century, and Spreckles, the sugar magnate, and the one who built the Hotel Del in San Diego, he had dreams of massive sugar beet farms in the Imperial Valley, which were very successful, but he had no way to get them to market. And so he could only take them north past the Salton Sea up into LA through that way, which was a long, hot way. He couldn't get the deals that he needed through Mexico that were stable enough to be able to ship them south and around. And so he attempted to put the Impossible Railroad in, which is another whole story.
Yeah.
And the tracks that go right across the front of us are part of that system. And he basically broke even but couldn't keep it open because every time we would have a little earthquake here, which happens all the time, with the Salton next to the Salton Fault, the tunnels were real problematic. And so even to this day, there are desires to keep that tunnel system open with 20 plus tunnels. It's almost impossible.
Yeah. Okay. So. And then I got two more questions. Do you know anything about the Mountain Men? Is that right?
Laguna Mountain Men?
I think so. So up there near the Pacific Crest Terminus up there, right. And then there's also a hill with a flag up there, and there's a memorial, and it talks about the Mountain Men. Do you know that history at all?
Well, that's a separate, another nonprofit, but they're more towards the Mount Laguna. They have a rendezvous up there every year, and they have one here at the North Coast Ranch every year, and they go to different places and reenact what mountain men did at the time as far as tanning and blacksmithing and all that kind of stuff. And yes, there were mountain men here back in when the pioneers and settlers were here. They were all kind of intermingled communities.
I was told that, correct me if I'm wrong, I was told by my friend that they were kind of like a volunteer force almost, and did they help with the border stuff?
Well, there were different groups. Now, there were the Range Riders, and the Range Riders were the ones that actually built the agricultural fence when the border was established. It's called the Roosevelt easement, where the federal government established a border all the way through, and wherever there were cattle and it wasn't rocky, they built a barbed wire fence 60 feet north of the border, all the way through, and tied it into the rocks so that there could be control of cattle north and south. There was a lot of import and export of cattle, but the U.S. Customs needed to be able to check the cattle that were coming north for hoof and mouth disease, and so they had a 60-foot zone on the south side of that barbed wire fence to where they inspected the cattle. Then they would breach the fence and bring them through.
Cool.
And the mountain men were involved in all of that. They were by a different name, but they were local people that were mountain men that built the fence.
Yeah. So another last question is, what would you tell people that of all ages that might find this one day in our community, especially, so West, the importance of history and keeping it alive and moving it forward into the future?
Well, it's hard to tell where you're going unless you know where you've been. And our country, from its inception till now, has been through a lot of hurdles and so forth. But there was a lot of effort over the years in order to get to where we are today. And it's just a continuing work in progress.
Okay. And the last thing I'll say, my friends are here now. So I know I just met you, but I might have mentioned, and I'll remind you, that I'm planning to do an event on Camp Lockett, an equestrian facility over there. I've been involved with Ray for a long time. I think I shared with you about the accident at Bucking Springs and how that was me. Well, I truly believe that God brought me back out here for a reason, and this is my full-time mission now, to help with the same cause that you've been doing for a long time. What are your thoughts about that event and bringing all that awareness out here?
I think it's great. That's what our whole purpose is, to collect information, preserve it, and find it, and produce books and publish it, as well as educate. That's our mission, is to be the perpetuators of the history of this area.
It's amazing.
So we, on our board of directors, we have authors, we do articles, we have newsletters, we have events. In fact, in May, second, third on the Roundup weekend is one of our big weekends, when we fire up the blacksmith shop and dress up and wave at the train and give talks. We also give field trips to the local school districts and so forth. And we're busy all the time. We also have annual pioneer cemetery tours in March every year. for a couple of weekends where we take people from cemetery to cemetery and tell stories about the people that we have the information here in this museum, but where they're actually buried, and have talks about their families and so forth. Because a lot of the ancestors of those families are still here.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to learning more and exploring this place, and honestly, I can't wait to talk to you more now that we've met. But that is all I got for today, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
And all right, so my name is Tanner Courtney, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Ray. I'm going to let him introduce himself. So go ahead and tell us who you are.
My name is Ray Fleury, and I am the president of the Camp Lockett Equestrian. I am the president of the Camp Lockett Event and Equestrian Facility. We are a 160-acre facility. We, along with the Historical Society, we have the Camp Lockett Cavalry and Buffalo Soldier Museum on our facility.
And what all do you guys do out there right now?
We have flat track motorcycle events. We have equestrian events. We host weddings. We have camping. We host Pacific Coast
Crest. Yep.
Pacific Crest Trail hikers. Last year we hosted over 2,000 from 38 countries.
Amazing. Cool. So where are we at right now?
Right now we're sitting on the edges of Chaffee Park. Chaffee Park was the center of the Camp Lockett. Some of the buildings around here were day rooms for the soldiers from World War II. Also outside the Mitchell Convalescent Hospital, I'm sure some of the patients may have sat underneath these trees here at some time just to get some fresh air.
Absolutely. And can you just share briefly about the live oak trees?
So we had an arborist come here and treat these trees. There's a wood spore that kills a lot of these trees, and when the arborist came from UC Riverside, he mentioned this is one of the most healthiest oak groves he's ever seen in Southern California. There's a tree on the far side he estimated to be at 700 years old. 700
years old. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful, but it's obviously a little bit overgrown and underutilized.
So all this property, including Camp Lockett or Cleef, was gifted to the different nonprofits by the county of San Diego. There's all old county property. If you're really interested, you need to research the Camp Lockett Master Plan. These properties were given to these entities that they would be used for the community, which that's not being done. This park is slated as a community park.
And the community wants it to be that.
The community wants it. In fact, the community, during the final stages of the master plan, it went for public comment in front of the planning group, and the community and the planning group voted to accept the findings of the master plan.
Okay, cool. And like I said, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and you can answer or not answer however you'd like. So what do you think is the current need of all of Camp Lockett? Not just your facility, but what do you think the need is right now?
Right now, I think there's a lot of legal issues that that need to be handled. Basically, what happened was the county handed us the master plan and walked away. Okay. No real instruction. Like I said, this is supposed to be a community park. Mm-hmm. It's a great wedding venue. It'd be great, couple picnic tables.
Yeah.
Around the facility, there are sports. There are basketball courts. There could be pickleball courts. There are volleyball courts that all could be utilized by the community.
The pool, the basketball court, the football field, the baseball field.
Two softball fields in here, baseball fields.
All these buildings that could be used. So what needs to be protected as things do move forward? Like, what do you think needs to be protected?
So this is a historical site, so anybody who participates has to be willing to keep up the historical significance of the properties.
Yeah. Like I said, you don't have to answer this. I'm going to ask, where do you think that any good intentions that have been working towards the development of this in the past have fall short? Where have they fell short in the past? Like, what kind of roadblocks or anything like that?
Well, I was told by one of the administrators of the master plan when it was being developed that they rushed it and to get it done, and just to say it's been done. And somebody finds it pretty important because it won an award, National Association of Counties, and I forget the
you sent that to me the other night.
Yeah, I forget the
organization.
No, the title or the what it won.
Mm-hmm. It was a big deal. Yeah. It was one of the community impact best engagement plans of
I forget the category.
I don't know if that's in the
category.
country or what, but
yeah, no, it's national, it's country.
Yeah.
So I forget the category that it was in.
Well, it's an amazing plan, and that's why I'm right there beside you. Like I know you guys have been fighting and wanting to fulfill that for a long time, but we'll see here. So if things move forward well, what does success look like for Campo and the community?
I know that it will move forward. It's just it takes time. There's some hurdles that can be done. So I imagine people being out here enjoying pennies, like Friday evening concerts. Gazebo with like the community. The master plan was meant to make this the community center.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be retail. There's health. There's child services. There's educational purposes.
It includes veteran stuff too, right?
Veterans.
Yep.
Some of the veteran stuff was taken out. I have to revisit it. I know the largest part, there was supposed to be a veterans village, and that was taken out to get the master plan approved.
Mm-hmm.
But there are I believe there are other veteran services that were in the master plan.
Awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to share today, right now?
I tell you what, when we get rolling, we're going to need help.
That's right.
And whether it be financially or labor, we're an all volunteer. We're an all volunteer organization. We don't have a single paid member of our board. We all donate our time and our goods.
Yeah, and can you actually share too? You were listing it off earlier. I think you'll have the chance to do this again on the news, but I want you to highlight what has Cleve done for the Campo community, San Diego community, like all the things, the money, the things that you've done.
Well, as a nonprofit, we give back to the community. Since 2017, we've given nearly $50,000. I believe it's like $47,000 back to the graduating seniors from the local high school. We've supported agricultural projects, like FFA and 4-H. We give back to needy families. One of our board members has, especially in the special ed department in the school, all of our raffle items, funds from our raffles go to the special education department at the local elementary school. We just fed 10 families at Thanksgiving. We had a generous donation of $600. We bought, I think, somewhere around 2 dozen new shoes for some needy kids for Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And we have enough food. We have enough turkeys to, I believe, do 12 more families next week at Christmas.
That's amazing. And just for a little bit of context for however this gets end up cut up and chopped up in the future, Ray is my connection to this place. I was brought out there for the Buffalo Soldier Museum and my involvement with the Buffalo Soldiers, and then Ray obviously owns the property Camp Lockett Event and Equestrian Facility where the Buffalo Soldier Museum is on. Are you going to correct me?
I don't know.
He doesn't own it, but he facilitates. He's the steward of that 167 acres. Is that right? 167, give or take. But incredible organization. I was just at their holiday party last week. So they are a staple in this community, wanting to move everything forward and wanting to provide more resources. So there was one more thing that I was going to ask you, and I can't think of now, actually. So
this is just a prototype anyway,
right. This is all being chopped up. Yeah. The event. So let's just share a little bit. This is just for fun. This is social media stuff. But when I came out and talked to you about utilizing, it's an event and equestrian facility. So I think it is more than perfect for it, especially when the community gets to see the layout. But can you just share how this is actually something you've wanted for a long time? So I'm really excited to do this with you.
We've always wanted to expand our usage of the property or the facility. When I first came around 7 years ago or so, there was almost nothing but gymkhana and a small fundraiser every year. That fundraiser's turned into a 2-day event now with about, we estimate 4,000 to 5,000 people over 2 days visit us. Mm-hmm. We always wanted to expand into a concert venue, mm-hmm. or outdoor concert, and that's where Tanner's come in. He's actually done a good job of taking that up, and it's going to benefit both his nonprofit and Cleve.
Absolutely. And that's you said gymkhana technically, and then it's roundup days too, right?
Camp Lockett roundup.
Yep.
And then Campo days.
Yeah. And then nothing's official, but obviously we have talked about maybe hopefully next year being able to combine the two to where we just add to that but have the music as well. But we'll see. That's all down the road. Yep. But well, thank you, Ray. Thank you for your time. And as always, all right, cool. That's it. All right. cool. So I am here today at the Motor T Museum, and I am joined with my friend Wes Mangum. All right, so can you just tell us who you are and your background, and where are we right now?
So Wes Mangum, you guys already know that, but I'm born and raised here in California. Worked for the city. I'm recently retired. I 37 years with the city of San Diego. I did 5 years as a landscaper with the city. Then I transitioned to park ranger and eventually wound up being in law enforcement as a police officer for the remainder, which was 30 years. And I've been out here for about 4 or 5 years now, helping out with this museum.
Awesome. So where are we right now?
This is what they call the Motor Transport Museum, but we're inside the Feldspar Mill in Campo, California.
Awesome. Cool. So from the time that you've been out here, what do you see right now is the current need where we are with the Motor T Museum?
This is a nonprofit organization, so we're seeking volunteers of all types to help out. It doesn't matter what your background is, we need assistance with either irrigation, weed control, sorting, computer work, social media, and mechanical work. Everything here we need assistance with. So we're hoping that we can get some volunteers out to help, because without the volunteers, since we are a nonprofit, it's very difficult to keep the museum open. And our whole reason for doing this is to educate the public. We're trying to make sure that the history remains and people understand the history in general of this area, not just the Feldspar Mill, but there's a lot of other areas in the Campo that has a lot of history.
Absolutely. So you know a little bit about me, and for all you again, I am Tanner Courtney, and I am the founder of Ready and Forward Camp Lockett, which I've created to help bring awareness and organization and structure to help fulfill the plan that this entire community has wanted to have for a very long time, and it's fallen through the cracks. So we're just trying to coordinate with everybody and move forward with bringing the resources to the community to serve our veterans, our youth, and everybody, because there's so much potential here. So with that, what do you think needs to be protected as we move forward?
Well, I think the history. So we have the trucks out here that we're trying to preserve, because there's a lot of history involving transportation, which is how we moved across the country. And trucks is one way to represent the changes, the dynamics, what people had to go through in order to progress. The other thing is the history, like I mentioned before, the Feldspar Mill, very important. That's where porcelain came from, through the process of the mill, grinding down the feldspar rock and then transporting it out of here. If you ignore all of this, it's like it never happened. And we're here to try to preserve and educate, because it is extremely important, and it's also very interesting.
It is.
The changes on how our society progresses, how we work together as a society to make things better.
Absolutely. There's so much history out here, and
I agree.
it's just so sad to me that 99% of our county and our veterans and just have no idea, because I know once they do know that they want to come out here and see this stuff, learn the history.
Right. We want to come. Doesn't matter, like I said, from where you come from. We want you to come out and either get educated, we could teach you a few things, or work on something. We're trying to work together.
Absolutely. And then you brought it up earlier, you don't have to be a mechanic to come out here, right? No. What kind of work is needed out here?
Yeah, everything. So I mentioned landscaping, I mentioned sweeping, organizing. We get donations where people just drop off stuff, and we have to go through it all to see what we need, what we can preserve, what needs to be restored, what needs to be stored in some of our other facilities for future use. Inventory, social media, all that stuff. Working on items like this loopster so that we can educate the public on what this is and how it operates. There's so much going on here. It's not just mechanical work, like you're saying.
Okay, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, if you don't have an answer, but I'm going to ask, where do you believe that, since you've been involved in this community in the Motor T Museum, that maybe good intentions in the past, because I know that the community has been working and wanting the same thing for a long time, where do you think or see that maybe good intentions have fell short in the past?
I think part of the reason is maybe having the information out there.
Awareness.
And awareness is very important, but also the distance has been an issue, I think, for some.
Mm-hmm. And you brought up a great point that I plan to definitely implement with my nonprofit immediately, probably after the event that we're going to be having this spring. Being able to provide a shuttle service that comes out here maybe every weekend for any veterans or community members that want to come volunteer to eliminate that distance. So that's a great idea.
Yeah.
And then just one more here is, if this movement that we've all been working on for a long time, but I'm trying to spark here, if it moves forward well, what does success look like for not just the Motor T Museum, but for Campo at large, the community?
I think it would flourish. It'd be prosperous, but it's also education. So the more people we can get in here to educate, the more is given back to the community, and it just grows.
Absolutely.
I think it's very important. There's a lot of history here that people don't know. We're just talking about one, I guess you would say, quarter, because we have 4 museums out.
Right.
This is just 1/4 of the museum.
Absolutely.
1 out of 4. So.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you, Wes. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No, I'm looking forward to whatever we can get, and I'm looking for the opportunity to help out.
Cool.
That's
awesome.
what the museum's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you.
Hey,
you're good, man. So I am with my friend Yogi here, a fellow veteran, and he has joined forces with me with the initiative and helping out our veterans and helping out our community. So if you want to introduce yourself, give a little bit of your background.
Jonathan Yogi Hernandez. I was in the Navy for 22 years, retired last September, have been a college student since then, and I'm really excited to help our community in any possible way, shape, or form so that we can all be successful. Rising tides raise all ships.
Yeah. And what do you tell us about your time in the military a little bit, and what do you do now?
So I was in the Navy for 22 years. I was an AME, Aviation Structural Mechanic Safety Equipment. I was a chief. And basically we focused the first part of my career was focusing on the environmental safety equipment, and then the last part of it was to make sure to mold both the junior sailors and the junior officers to make sure that they can provide the best resources for their growth.
Yeah, awesome. And then what are you doing now?
Right now, I am a college student. I am a podcaster, the Miltobet Podcast. I am the representative for all of California for all veteran students that are going to the community college system. I am also the Region 10 representative for all community colleges here in San Diego. And we just finished doing a golf event where we ended up raising $27,000 to give back to our community college students as scholarships.
Yeah. So I just met him a month ago now or so, but this man is all over the place, not just San Diego, he's all over California. And you're about to be recognized for that, right? Mm-hmm. Which I don't need to drop that here. Yeah. But yeah, he does a lot for our veterans, a lot for our community, and he is all over the place. I don't know how you do it, but I am so glad. So he is with me today, right, for the second time, I believe, coming out to Camp Lockett to get a firsthand experience of what is out here, because that's the problem, is that 99% of our county, I feel like, truly has no idea what's out here, and that is why we're doing the event that we're doing. So I'm super stoked that you've been able to come out here. What do you think so far of everything?
So I think this is, just like you mentioned, right? It is the best kept secret that nobody knows, but everyone should. Especially our veteran community, right? This being such a historical site, having such a powerful history, right? And story, to say the least, but nobody knows about it, right? And it feels like there's so many people here that want to keep this traditional history alive, but there's been so many barriers across, right? And I'm really happy that I was able to run into you, to be able to, and that you have this vision to be able to bring and have basically a sanctuary for our veterans, our first responders, and our law enforcement to be able to, have that and also preserve the history that is here.
So many layers. And what's so beautiful is that this vision that he's talking about, God did give me that vision, but what's so crazy and so beautiful is that I came out here prior to my accident that changed my life, that gave me that vision. But God brought me back out here, which is so crazy. But that vision is not something that I created. This is something that has actually existed for so long. The same vision. And there's an actual county-approved master plan to turn this 400 acres of history and military into a community and veteran resource hub for our youth. And you saw some of the property today. There is so much potential. And it is unfortunate because there's so many people, such as the other people that I've interviewed today, that see that potential, have been fighting and wanting the evolution and the development to happen, but there's just nothing but roadblocks because there's a lack of organization, structure, accountability, and awareness. And that is where God, I guess, has given me and you and everybody that is helping along with this to move this forward. Because there's so much opportunity here. And I know that it's going to serve our veteran community and the local community at large very well. And the history needs to be preserved. There's so much history here.
And I mean, it goes back to, again, rising tides raise all ships, right? By infusing fuel and economy and tourism and everything into this is going to raise everyone that currently lives here, right?
Yeah.
By doing that, there's also going to be awareness of the history here, right? And by having a sanctuary for youth, for veterans, for different underrepresented communities, it's gonna keep on. It's a self-fulfilling machine that just keeps on feeding and feeding, right?
Because more people will become healed,
Yes.
which then means they're operating at a higher frequency of love and healing, and it's a movement, really. I mean, not that we're going to be the only ones responsible for that, but if you create a 400-acre resource center, how many hundreds of thousands will be healed over the course of time?
Exactly.
Which is then going to make a better country and world, right? And that is the long-term vision. And I'm not the only one that has it. I'm just really grateful to help be a part of it. So let's talk a little bit real quick about the event this spring. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that is an amazing kickoff. I'm super excited to see it happening. The way that it's all shaping up to be, the thoughts behind it, and the group that is coming, things are going to happen one way or another, right? Roadblocks are going to open up.
Of course.
And, whoever's going to be part of the team is going to be part of the team to make this a successful event.
Right.
And bring such love and care and everything that we want for our community, right? There's a very sad statistic that there's, out of the 1%, 0.06% of any time in our history here in the United States, that 0.06% is a service member that serves in the military. However, there's 33% of the entire unhoused population across the United States that is a veteran. 1/3 of the veteran or the homeless population are veterans, right? And
wow,
so
and there's 250,000 veterans in our county alone. So I'm not good at mental math, but that means there's probably a lot of homeless here.
a lot.
And one of the parts of that master plan was to create a veteran village to be able to house some of these people.
Correct.
And right now they're being vandalized and broken into and underutilized. So.
And not just that, but it's a historic site. Right. And something that, if you go to other buildings that are, that were built in the 1940s, 50s, 60s, you see a very similar resemblance. What better way to keep it alive with someone that, one, has lived that history and is passionate about keeping it together,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, not only is the event that's going to be annual going to be such an amazing community gathering of unity and healing and honoring our military, first responders, law enforcement, history, but what that does is it sparks the ignition of the long-term revitalization of this, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm so grateful that God brought us together, because all the resources and connections that's come from that, and it's going to continue to come from that. It's so cool that you're out here on the same path as me. So awesome, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. All right, cool. All right.